This video brought to you by the support on Patreon. Oh, also a few content warnings before we begin. And now...
仕事に行くぜ。
After all those giant Ghibli builds from those good Ghibli movies, I'm taking a small detour into the world of doll customization to make the eponymous Chainsaw Man from Chainsaw Man, a very good anime and manga that has fully sucked me to its visage. If you aren't familiar with it, here's a quick recap.
ああ、俺チェーンソーなれんの。いいだろ。
Now that you're all caught up, let's convert Ken the handsome man into Denji Chainsaw Man.
Get in, loser, we're going
doll customizing.
First order of business is we need to lose that head. But as much as you try, these doll skulls are not a twist off. Or you could make a contract with a scissor devil. Cut. But that's a messy method. No, the best way to remove a head from a neck knob is with a good soak in hot water. After 30 seconds of flesh softening, the head should slide off the neck. Nice. But remember to keep the head. You never know when we might need this lipless lad someday. What? As for clothing, it's business attire only for this 12-inch teen. This tie is a bit too fun, so we'll paint it black later. But the worst thing about this cheap doll dress shirt is that it should be a button-up, but the seam is on the back. But first, a snack to help me problem solve this. When it comes to using fabric in my projects, I try to avoid using a needle and thread. I'm more of a hot glue kind of guy. Plus, my sewing abilities died in 7th grade home ec, but I don't want doll customization YouTube to come after me, so let's use thread to reattach the collar. Come on. Come on. Oh, no. Come on. Yes!
Hole in one!
You loop it, you swoop it, and you pull. And look at that, now I could sell it on Etsy for $8. I don't want business boy looking too disheveled though, so I'm ironing the collar nice and flat. Except I ended up adding more creases to the shirt, but we'll chalk it up to Denji's inexperience with an iron. But now it's a nice crisp fit for those stiff arms. I want Denji to have elbows, so I'm using arguably the worst plastic softening method available. A respirator is mandatory. If you're going to barbecue a boy, you need to apply even heat as you rotisserie the plastic and keep a constant eye on it. One thing you should never do is...
set it and forget it.
I'm roasting the man just until the skin starts to glisten and he becomes posable. Oh, we gotta remove that lower back tattoo. This is just so we can weaken his core and position him into a perpetual hunch. And just like me, Denjamin suffers from poor neck posture. Leave a like if you just sat up straight. For the legs, I'm copying the Volume 1 cover pose because I have no originality. But this bend really stresses these joints until suddenly, whoops, knee hole. Oh, my knee! We'll just push this flesh back together and hope it doesn't get worse later. With the pose complete, it's time for arm surgery, but to turn him into Chainsaw Man, I'll need to become Rotary Tool Man. This is going to get a bit fleshy and messy, so glasses and a mask are a must. Then I marked out where I want to bisect the arms for chainsaw insertion. Be careful around hot flesh goop. Do a little tap check before you pinch off the nuggets so you don't burn yourself. Oh my god, there's so much skin everywhere. Let's clean up this dermis detritus before we move on. Next time, I'll consider sealing away the flesh mess in a dust box like Delightful. Very good doll videos, by the way. The surgery was a success, and we've doubled Denji's arms from 2 to 4, but if I can be a bit picky, he needs more hip rotation to match the cover art. Since he'll be wearing pants, I don't mind just tearing away at his pelvis. This is much better range, but now we need to compensate with a tighter knee bend. Back to the flesh flame we must go. Remember to keep a close eye on the boitisserie. If it starts to smoke, you've gone too far.
Please don't do that at home.
As you can see, the knee is obliterated, but did you know the anatomy of the human knee is almost identical to a horse's rear end? In my opinion, this new knee is more shapely and attractive than the original human knee. It's really gonna pop nicely when we put on the pants. Now back to chainsaw arms. These crafting sticks happen to be the perfect size 1/6 scale doll chainsaws. Just a little industry secret for you. Shh. Since the chainsaws are meant to be metal, I'm hiding the wood grain with a few coats of Mod Podge, but I fear the brushstroke devil, so we gotta stipple that goop. This idea is pretty out there, but I'm going to use chain for the chainsaw. After spending several hours on Etsy learning about different types of chain lengths, I finally landed on this 2mm rectangular box cable chain. Write that down. I'm gluing the chain straight onto the sticks, though I did for a moment try to consider how to build a functional tiny chainsaw. For the chainsaw teeth, I ate 150 cocktail pickles. I actually got these garnish picks for spooky Halloween fences, but in the off-season, they're perfect for chainsaw teeth. I don't mind the occasional tedious task, but after clipping and organizing tons of tiny teeth into big and small sizes, my hand was down bad for relief. First, I glued on a row of big teeth, then interspaced the tiny teeth. After a little fun at the vibration station, it's time for the easiest paint job ever. Just a lazy silver dry brush over a black base coat. The goal is a used and tarnished look because these chainsaws have cut through a lot of stuff. And any sloppiness we'll just go ahead and call free weathering. But why stop at just 2 chainsaws when I have so many crafting sticks as my canvas? Vote now on who would win in a fight. Next, we come to Denji's shoes. I love all the oversized shoes in Chainsaw Man, but my favorite goes to these Splatoon-looking waffle stompers that belong to Power. But I don't know, what do you think? Vote now on who would win in a fight. The best shoes I could find for these big feet are these Converse-esque high tops. But they need some updates. I need to remove the name from the shoe, but keep the nondescript circle. There we go, took it from Ken to K. After a little red paint to pop the accent lines, we're ready to dress up Denji. First, the new and improved shirt and pants. But before we slip on the shoes, we need to establish some mounting holes in the heels. Whoa, that's a long boy. And the winner of the longest curly fry goes to this 3.5 incher. Denji isn't very good at standing on his own feet, so these holes are for inserting a couple of metal rods for later mounting on a base. On Denji's neck nub, I scraped away as much of the extraneous flesh as I could to make room for a bouquet of chainsaw chains. It's sort of a twisting gradient from man to machine. Time jump. The neck gets a black base coat and a silver dry brush. We'll come back to the neck in a sec, but first we need to keep Denji's pants on and make him a belt. This leather strap was trimmed from a pleather scrap. Then it needs belt loops, which are from a miscellaneous package ribbon. To make sure the belt is nice and secure, I'm making a belt buckle using a USB cable cap protector. The last thing to do is to superglue the belt directly to the pants. Just a life hack for extra safety if your pants don't have built-in belt loops. Now to tie up loose ends with Denji's necktie, which I will fortunately not be double Windsoring at 1/6 scale. This bargain tie came boneless, so I'm inserting a piece of armature wire to bend the bones into an action pose later. After a coat of black paint, it's ready for business time. Ironically, we can't tie the tie, but we can do the next best thing and drill it directly into his sternum. Right below this chest cavity will go a second hole for a chainsaw ripcord, which then became 4 holes due to lack of planning. In general, you should never operate a chainsaw while wearing a necktie. That's like the main rule. Unless you have the type of tie with bones in it that lets you safely bend the tie out of the way to avoid it from getting caught in the blades of your chainsaw arms. Careful while wedging the chainsaws into your pre-split arms. The teeth from the food skewer picks might have been designed for spearing pickles, but they were still sharp enough to break my skin a couple times. But any DNA I left behind on the model is just free weathering. After a little spread of super glue underneath the arms, I pinched this arm sandwich closed, which means we can now move on to the main event. And get excited too, because we're gonna go hang out with garbage. Over at the trash closet, I selected a few prime pieces that looked like good candidates for a head. The back of the head will be made from the thick thigh of a dollar store robot. After identifying my favorite angles and textures, I disassembled the leg into more manageable bite-sized pieces. Then I rearranged the parts until they were not exactly the design of Chainsaw Man's head, but close enough. When the front of your face is a chainsaw, it's okay if the back of your head is just vague robot detail. The most distinct details on the back of the head, though, are the 2 handles. But this one is just shy of being long enough. To mount the handle, I'm using this metal charm from my huge hoard of horseshoes. Honestly, it wasn't the best choice for what I needed, but I was approaching the end of the build and realized I hadn't used a single horseshoe yet. So to avoid disappointing the great horse centipede, a sacrifice had to be made. And if this is the first video of mine you've ever seen, or even if you've seen all of them, that sentence still makes no sense. The back of the head is complete. Next up is the lower jaw, made from plane, sandwiched together. I'm using a couple binder clips to help clamp the 2 sides tight while the super glue cures to, hey, look who it is. But how to best attach the jaw to the back of the head? That's right, 2mm rectangular box chain. Good job. Next we come to the orange domed helmet part of the head, and I've set aside a special piece just for this. Arms up. I got really excited when I saw this beautiful piece of garbage. It's got the 2 flat sides and the sloped front built into it, no kit bashing required. But when it came to a fit test, I think it's slightly too small and needs to curve a little bit more on the front. Oh well, back to the trash closet for one more perusal. This plastic egg is a bit too silly. The spray bottle handle flares too much on the sides. Ooh, okay, but how about this one? Using 2 quadrants from this lid, I made 2 mirrored sides to slide in place on the head. Then I used a Dremel to engrave the eye vents. I didn't go all the way through though, just enough to suggest a whisper of a vent. Next I painted this orange lid orange, but not just any orange, it's red. It's all red. But then some carefully placed orange whilst trying to retain a red-orange gradient along the edges. Either the head is a confused red-orange or this is the day I learn I'm colorblind. Then some flat black on the vent lines, of which there are exactly 3. I carefully counted them many times so as to not mess up such an iconic design. Let's forget about that forever and move on to assembling the chainsaw face. But before fully committing to gluing these puzzle pieces together, he needs his angry mouth. Gloves on. Using some 2-part epoxy, I'm filling out the mouth with the only flesh the face has. But this gummy smile needs some tooth. Picks, that is. And since I had a little extra epoxy that I mixed up, I sculpted the biggest tongue I could fit in my crowded mouth. I would have preferred bigger and sloppier, but I favored teeth over tongue and ran out of space. So now it's just a normal human-sized tongue in a toothed jail cell. Anyway, let's build a base. Rather than building a more on-brand pile of adult-themed violence for Chainsaw Man to stand on, I opted for the simpler but effective broken concrete tutorial. All you need is some gritty texture paste to make it look less foamy and more loamy. The vibe I'm going for is Shattered Street, except I want the sides to be kissably smooth, so I'm frosting them with a smear of modeling paste. For the other side of the base, I made another slab of concrete jutting upward as a pedestal to support Denji's high-kneed attack pose. And no goop goes wasted around here. Those cup dredges are enough to mix up a batch of rubble for crack-filling the gaps. The general rule of detritus is big to small, so next comes aquarium gravel, followed by normal sand. After a spritz of isopropyl alcohol and watered-down glue to seal it in, we're ready for a zenithal prime. Using oil washes, we'll transform this from boring white to regulation municipal gray. Make sure to hit those undersides too. Then a light dry brush of, we'll call it Old Bone Pile, to bring out the edges on this poor injured city street. Look, you can even see the bone sticking out of the open wound. I cleaned up the edges with black paint, then dirtied up the rest of the street by rubbing in a bit more filth. And now we're ready to drop Denji into his holes. But is it finished? Only if you prefer a nice clean boy, so get your looks in. As for me and my house, we serve the manga. That means a spray of the cover's promised green slime. Stylistic green cover aside, Denji is a rowdy boy that tears through a lot of red fluid, so oh yes, there will be jam.
梅ジャム、いちごジャム、最強のパンができちまったぜ。あー、うまっ！
I don't want to overindulge when it comes to the sweet jam. Less is more, they say, so just a tasteful dab will do. All right, all done. Okay, maybe just a little bit more sauce for this hungry guy. Denji's Dungy.
I'm finished.
Stay tuned for the Patreon shoutouts, but until next time, thanks for watching. Now roll that beautiful boy footage. Store-fitting Ash Weenie, Rat Queen, Artsy Bean, the tormented Shadow, Fabergé, Burrito, Josh, Zachary Vogel, Emma, Cameron, Lolo, Anthony Hewitt, Maria, Wasp, Spore Sheets, Lola, Copeniac, Randall, Ravioli, Angelina, Delabrea, Ryan Decker, Radioactive Element, Tracy, Andrew, Lazenby, Purple, Awkward burp, potato sense, the royal potato. Wackensy, George, Margaret, Manning, Lovely Morg. Lockinson works, Katie, Carl, Nathan Org. Premier, Lex, Peacock, Swat, Rebs, Bex, and Faye. Bethany, McCarthy, Preem, Vindex, Von Victory. Nathan, Mabbott, Mistake Central, Steph is gone. Samantha Bates, Axolotl, Derbs, Aaron Young, Brianna Corey's Corner, Kim Chayon, Lincolnstein, Andy and Loie, Alyssa D, Kyra 13, Anthony Evanard, Geo, Reality, Right, Windy Cole, Emily Stockton of the North, Marina Simmer, Roosty, Big B Wolf, Mariana Calderon, and Snoot, Kyle Newman, Gladriel Keel, Luke Layfield, Anna Whipperman, Jaden Staff Mimran, Reka Karina Al Wilson, Japanese rice cooker, Spinner Brooke Barrier, AJ Evan Coulter, Alexandria Zubia, Crazy Mom, Melissa Novoa, Melissa Bohr, Edmund and Emily, Brian Busby, Venice Sophie, Fujioski, Dennis Curly, Winged Yeti, Louis Big Meat, Manga Boy, Bisa, the Redmond, Axavin, Grayson Chow, Monica Grass, Megan Maverick, Jason chasing downs. Riding on my road, Kelsey Thompson's on the road. Jai Dale, the monkey-eyed David was